Hello, everyone. Monday night. So, you know what that is. It's time for class to be in session. And tonight we are joined with a special guest, Scott Sion of Planet X News. So, this is going to be, I believe, an exciting evening. Dr. Albers, hello. And how
Hello,
was your week?
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. And Scott, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, my man.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we've got Scott and Claudia on because they're going to actually announce what they are working on, which I think is very exciting. But prior to that, Claudia, I have something, and Scott, I would like for the two of you to give me your opinion on. So a little background here. This picture was taken at 10:24 a.m. Saturday. This is literally, I am stepping out of my garage onto my driveway. Mm-hmm. And as you can see in this picture, I found it odd because where is the sun? Now this is at 10:24. Check this out, y'all. Mm-hmm. I had to take the gamma down and look what, now I don't know what the hell this is, but that's supposedly our sun.
Yeah, I've seen this before. It's actually the simulator when you see it, and the lens system somehow doesn't quite magnify it to the usual size. That's usually the one of the sun simulator models, the one that is in orbit. And that's how small it really is, but the lenses in the atmosphere make it look big.
So it's really, I mean, because I knew this. Now I have cameras, I've got several telescopes that I have set up. I can tell you this, let me just, there we go. That is what I could tell something wasn't right. It just didn't look right.
Yeah.
And
it's not normal.
No, it's not. No, excuse me. That's one of our. So there it is. And only reason why I got this was because, like I said, I had to take the gamma way down, contrast way down, saturation way up to actually get what the object was up there.
Yeah.
So
and you can see a little bit of the sun halo that we usually see, little parts of the arc a bit further out as well. That's another sign that there is a lens system there. They have to have a lens system. You see?
Interesting.
Yeah. Scott has taken a lot of pictures showing these things.
Well, you know, I'm at 6,000 feet, so I'm a little bit higher than everybody else. True. No wisecracks.
That's true. You must be able to really see this.
Yeah, so I'm a mile higher than everybody else for the most part. And I can literally go 30 minutes and I can be up at 10,000 feet. This is what we're picking up now. And it only occurs in the middle of starting about 10 to about 1 o'clock.
Yeah. And notice the blue. This system actually emits blue light. You can actually see the blue light around there.
Yeah, it's very pronounced. Look at this.
Definitely blue. They also using pigments with the chemtrails in some cases to color the sky. So that's one of the things they're using. But here it looks like it's actually blue color that they're emitting, possibly to make the sky look blue, because often nowadays, if you look up close to the horizon, the sky is light blue. As you move closer to the light source in the sky, that simulates the sun, it gets darker blue, and sometimes it's gray close to the simulator. So obviously they're adding this blue to make it look more like natural blue sky color.
But this is what got me freaked out, because you can see something is supposed to be here, but I'm thinking maybe, is this the lens? I don't know. I knew that there was something here that wasn't right.
Yeah, I did write an article about the lens system. And the lens system, they're actually using electromagnetic waves to
Interesting.
produce sound waves, sound wave resonances that cause the atmosphere to vibrate to the point that a dense interface is created that oscillates. And that's what creates these lenses. They're actually creating lenses out of the air. But of course, the air is full of conductive particles, these metals they're putting in the air through the chemtrails. And because it's so conductive, they can manipulate it and create lenses.
I want to show you this, Claudia and Scott, as well. I just pulled it back up so we can see it. So is this what we're getting? Because we're seeing this up here where it's actually looks like these clouds, that there is a wave. And
Yes.
being in the video industry, I know what I can look at. This reminds me of magnetic waves.
Yeah, these are definitely waves. They're using electromagnetic frequencies to manipulate the whole atmosphere. And it's visible because we have clouds there. But even when there are no clouds, they're using these electromagnetic waves. The whole of the atmosphere is now bathed in these electromagnetic waves. That's how they're controlling the weather. This is how they are creating earthquakes. And today I even learned that they can create space weather at will.
I believe that. And this is the capture that I have to say was the money shot.
Oh my. That's interesting.
So I did a little, and now there you go. I took this October, excuse me. What do you think that is? I think it's a planet.
That's definitely strange. Could you guys hear me good?
Yes, sir. We certainly can.
Okay. You know what? I don't mean to interrupt, but
no.
I wanted to jump back to what Claudia had mentioned about the pigment and these magnetic waves. She's not just making this stuff up. Okay. We're about to come out with a very detailed, I think, groundbreaking book on chemtrails. And over the past couple of weeks, I got to say, man, I have unearthed some pretty damning information, and I have all of it on PDF file. These are these are government files that have been unclassified. And Claudia mentioned the pigment.
Yes.
And last year, I had a dream, like Martin Luther King. I had a dream. But I had a dream that they were literally painting the sky blue on
really?
on clear days. So we really wouldn't see white chemtrails. We wouldn't really see anything at all. But what we would see is kind of a pale bluish gray sky. Now, the normal person's not going to sit there and stare at the sky for 24 hours.
Correct.
So they're really not going to notice if something is different. The files that I have uncovered and the PDF files that I was able to download, these are all coming from the U.S. Patent Office. Some of the information has been redacted to get them. But about 35 years ago, several companies, they're all shadow companies. There is no link back to any government at all.
Interesting. Now that is interesting.
Now here is one of the projects that they worked on for 10 years. And that was aerosol pigmentation disbursement through aerosol components on jet aircraft. And the blueprints are there. The one patent is about 30 pages long. It is mind-blowing. And it's all right there. And it gets into some really, really technical science, actually chemistry. What they're using to create these pigments in the sky, used for mass dispersion. These are words that are in the patent file. Okay. So when did you ever hear about somebody making something to spray pigmented aerosols into the sky? I mean, come on, let's be realistic here. Let's just get right off of the chemtrails are a conspiracy, because I swear to God, if I hear somebody say that again, I mean, they're liable to get a slap, because it's not a conspiracy. It is a fact.
Yeah, I'm trying to show while you're talking, Scott.
Oh, I see that. Those are great shots.
This was this morning, right out my back door. They did a big old X. Now, this is, oddly enough, this is a 777. And I've identified it back here. The best that I can see is that this appears to be an unmarked craft.
Of course.
Yeah.
Here's something else that's going to blow your mind. Okay. You're familiar with aircraft. You know what a transponder is, correct?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Well, here's the deal. If anybody with half a brain, trolls included, if you spot one of these planes and you happen to be by your computer and you tap into the website, which shows you all air traffic in real time with the jet planes and all of the aircraft with their transponders on, and if you're smart enough to know your GPS location, you can clearly see that above your head there is no transponder beeping. Period.
And if you have your iPhone, just go to your Compass app and do it, and they'll do it for you.
Exactly. I have a Compass app on my cell phone, gives me my exact reading and location, and I have done this countless times. I have even said this in my videos. So if you know anything about FAA regulations and air traffic, and I've read up on it, a good bit. I mean, I'm not a professional on FAA regulation, but let's be realistic. We all know that these large jet aircraft are not allowed to fly this close together within this proximity of each other. And they're sure as hell not going to be making, stars and pentagrams in the sky like we've seen them do. They're sure as hell not going to be making very close tic-tac-toe signs and grids across the sky. So
they do that very regularly here, by the way. I think these pilots.
Where are the transponders? Where are the flight paths? Okay, they're not supposed to be up there. They're naked to the radars with the transponders, but they're there. But it's a conspiracy, Wayne.
Sure. That's what they painted over my house.
Actually, I think the conspiracy is on the other side. It's on because
that's
these
what I mean.
Military planes, and I actually think it's a multi-level conspiracy, because to the people on the street, nothing's happening. No matter how many times we look up and see these, we are told, no, it's not happening. To those people who are above that, say a climatologist who has noticed something, they will come out and tell them, oh, it's for the good of the planet, because we are reflecting light, ultraviolet light off this chaff. We're using it to reflect light. In fact, the father of all this was Edward Teller, and he was the father of the hydrogen bomb. And he was working with some kind of think tank, thinking of ideas to make new ways of making war. And he came up with the chemtrail idea in 1997. And he said, oh, it's a remedy for global warming and for reflecting ultraviolet light back into space. But what do we have? It's worse. We know that it's worse. But this is one of the lies they tell the people that are a level above the person in the street.
Yeah.
They say, oh, it's for the good of the planet because the global warming was destroying life on our planet, and this will solve that problem. How is that possible? Because an airplane puts out more carbon dioxide than any other type of fossil fuel burning. So with all these planes in the air spraying, of course, the carbon dioxide goes straight up exponentially. So it's not carbon dioxide they're trying to treat, it's something else.
Oh, absolutely not. That's not the way that you change carbon dioxide. I've read extensively on it. Chemtrailing is definitely not one of the ways.
You see, they said it was to reflect light so that the planet cools down. But as we know, there's plenty of evidence that the sun is actually dying. I mean, I've detailed that in article after article after article. So it's not global warming. That's a lie. So that's one level of the conspiracy. So we already on the second level. Remember, the first one is just telling people, no, nothing's happening. The second level is it's for the good of the planet. The third level would be to the people that are above that. And then what do you tell them? You tell them that, oh, yes, we're doing this. And what we're doing is we're decreasing the population. But we have a plan for you. We have a plan to take you off planet, or we have a plan that when all the population's down to below 500 million, then we're going to restore the planet. Mm-hmm. And that's another level of lying. Yeah. To the people that are one step above that. Because if they meant to heal the planet eventually, they would have done that with other planets, like Mars, for instance, where nuclear weapons were used and the radiation is still there.
I often wonder, where did we get this knowledge to begin to do terraforming on our own planet?
Mm-hmm. Aliens.
Aliens, yeah.
Aliens, I mean, I'm dead serious. I mean, let's just face it. Man's not that intelligent in this entire, galaxy and universe. Man is definitely like maybe, an ant.
Well, I just read a study from Harvard where they just tested the cognitive level, folks, on, are you ready for this? 30s and unders. Guess what? We are becoming a stupid species. Oh, yeah. And that's what they called it. We are becoming stupid.
Mm-hmm. And the chemtrails is helping us do that. So is the educational system that is now designed to dumb down the population as much as possible.
I saw someone, I think it was Mercury 7, saying, I'm not real convinced on chemtrails. I call it aerosol injection. I believe that's what the patents call them as well. Is that right, Scott? I think it's aerosol injection methods.
There was aerosol ejection, aerosol disbursement. They kind of go coining all of these phrases throughout the years. And some of these actual patents and the research began really hot and heavy about 35 years ago. Nothing was really, none of these devices were actually placed into planes because one of the main things that they had issues with is they needed more computer technology to make it efficient, because these planes would literally have to carry like oil tanker, like the ocean liner oil tankers on the ocean, because that's the amount of liquids that they would have to carry in these planes.
By the way, I can tell the difference up here. People want to say, well, no, that's just simply condensation. No,
No.
Where I live, I can tell the difference. I see Denver has all the international traffic that's going over. I see these birds. I see the B-52s. I see the B-2s that come over. No, we know the difference. So,
Exactly.
A contrail, a real contrail, condensation trail coming off of a jet airliner or a plane, it's not very long. It's only, 10, 15, 20 plane lengths behind the plane.
Disperses.
And it dissipates in a matter of seconds. And as the plane goes along the sky, the contrail goes with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it do.
Now, I wanted to just ask you something. When you had that video up on the screen of the plane flying, let me ask you if you've made this observation. Do you notice the speed of these aircraft? A jumbo jet 747, top speed around 520, 530 miles an hour, maybe 550.
Yeah.
Okay, these massive jumbo jets and the ones that are over my skies are freaking battleship gray. They're not white. Okay, they're battleship gray. They're huge, and they move across the sky so fast, it's almost like they're at like hypersonic speed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Now a jumbo jet. Jumbo jets, man, they just cruise, man.
That's what they're designed to do.
Yeah. Well, these jets are moving now at very, very high rates of speed.
Very high.
Yeah, I don't think they are actually using a normal aircraft anymore, because I have seen plenty of images that suggest to me that they are using a new form of aircraft, possibly through remote control. Possibly they don't even have pilots in them. They're just controlled by an artificial intelligence type of computer system. And they don't look normal. Sometimes you even see the chemtrails in no plane. And sometimes I have actually written an article where I saw video footage of what looked like an electromagnetic beam changing shape. So to me, that's a cloaking device. They're using some kind of advanced aircraft. They're cloaking it electromagnetically, and then over that, they are using a holographic kind of technology so that it looks like an airplane. They move way too fast to be airplanes. They're not
for that size. Okay, and we know that these like 747s, 757s, we know that they cannot make these real hard banks.
Yes,
in the air. I mean, they'll break apart, for Christ's sake.
At that speed, especially.
But we're seeing. I mean, I've seen it myself. Other people have seen these planes banking and making like these, these paperclip end turns, man, and they start coming back the other way. Some of them are not even turning off the disbursement, and they're leaving them small loops. Someone just sent me a photograph the other day. I personally have caught the same photograph of a 5-pointed star, pentagram, whatever you want to call it. Claudia was with me when we visibly saw it happening with our own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I live 75 miles away from Pittsburgh International Airport. We don't get a lot of jumbo jet traffic in the airs around here, except for chemtrail planes.
We don't get the big guys, but only when they're poisoning the crap out of us.
Yeah, exactly. Now check this out. This is something kind of odd, and this is going into the ultraviolet light. I took Claudia on a little road trip a couple of days ago. I took her down to my bug out site, and it's an old abandoned mine. It's been there since the late 1800s. Had a massive explosion there in, I think, 1902, 1903, buried 275 men inside the mine. And we're going back to where, these guys would do mining, coal mining, longwall mining with a pick, a hammer, and a shovel, and mules.
Yeah.
And that's what was coming out of there.
Hard work.
They built buildings along the river edge out of solid concrete, steel, and rebar. And to this day, they are still there. And they are solid as a rock. You could actually go underneath a few floors down into these big, massive 200-foot concrete silos. And it's where the coal used to come off the hill. And that was a big, gigantic silo. It spun with gears, and it filtered out the coal and the slate and washed it with river water. And then
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, it sent it out. I'll tell you the name of it whenever we're off.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
But then it would go into other conveyor belts, and children at the age of 10 and above that lived in the little village, the mining village, worked there 12 hours a day, separating coal and slate by hand.
We don't, in America, we don't like to talk about that part of our history.
Yeah.
Land of the free, only if you can afford it. Oh,
Exactly.
Excuse me. That's just, that's the philosopher speaking.
Yeah.
But while we were down there, it's a heavily forested area. The actual train tracks are gone now, but a lot of the buildings are still standing within the trees. But we were noticing the trees, and they are really, really, man, we're talking trees that are 70, 80 feet tall, 100 feet tall.
Hardwoods?
Yeah. And you got oaks, you got maples, you got the whole 9 yards. All of the trees halfway up had bark. The rest from the midsection up to the top, all of the trees were bleach white. Claudia, am I lying or what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed that. It was strange.
And this is an old Allegheny Mountain Indian trail that's been there for centuries. Okay. And I've been down there my entire life as a kid. I was just recently down there months ago, and I was down there again several times past summer and spring. Everything was normal. Throughout the winter, the extreme ultraviolet light and rays have destroyed the tops of all of these trees, man. And I'm talking miles and miles and miles. This trail goes from the mountains all the way to Washington, D.C. That's how far this trail is. This is a George Washington trail.
Yeah, I hiked the Appalachians, so we crossed that.
Exactly. But, okay, so why are these trees white with no bark from halfway up to the top? But the rest...
well, that's UV radiation, because we know in 2002 they measured 0 UVC radiation at the Earth's surface.
I'm getting fired up.
2017 and 2018, it was more than what was measured at the top of the atmosphere by NASA.
That's interesting that you're bringing this up. I just want to inject that I lived in Knoxville, Tennessee, back in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. And when we would go up to Cherokee Pass up in the Appalachians, back then, we could see the acid rain effects. Because just as you were describing, the trees would go up, and once they hit above a certain altitude, you could but bleaching, UV, now that's very interesting. Scott, excuse me.
Wayne, I'm telling you, they're white, man. They're white.
Wow.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the state of Washington a few years later after Mount St. Helens.
St. Helen. Yeah.
Those gray trees.
Yep.
Now the trees, I mean, they're getting buds and leaves on them now. But never, ever have I seen all of the different trees, oaks, maples, elms, I mean, everything. And then, we've been noticing a lot of other things too, just, little subtle things that we're trying to take closer looks at. But this is a big problem, man. I mean, I don't know if you saw my recent video of the lady out in California who's been having respiratory problems. Went to her doctor, and she got her medical doctor to go on camera and tell her exactly what he felt was wrong with her lungs. And she's only a 48-year-old woman in good health. He said, I diagnose it as chemtrail lung. And she lives right outside of LA. And then the video's on my YouTube channel.
I have to check that out, definitely. And I'll leave a link to it when I post this on the channel.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking he's, a full medical doctor in his office. She asked him, can I film you saying this? And he said yes. And then he described where the planes are coming from at an airport or military base around Los Angeles. Man, very, very, very shocking. And, I mean, she's an actress. She has her own TV program, an animal program on ABC. Her name's Rachel Reenstra. And she's become very, very vocal about the chemtrails. And we're all helping her along. But now, come on, man. You have a medical doctor. He gives a 10-minute talk to her in his examining room. And it's not a charade. She goes back a few days later and starts filming from the very beginning, walking in, shows her paperwork, shows everything, man. She's putting her personal information right out there. And this doctor flat out said, these issues that you're having, it's not bronchitis like you were diagnosed with. It's not this, it's not that. She doesn't smoke. She doesn't have asthma, blah, 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 blah. He said, I see this continuously with many, many patients, and I know what it's from, and I've named it chemtrail lung.
All right. So I just wanted, it's odd that we didn't talk, folks, prior to coming on here. So this just came out today, as you can see on The Guardian. Weed killer found in granola crackers from, you get this, folks, Roundup. It's in our food.
Yeah.
So I'm just going right along with you, Scott, on this.
Oh, my God.
We now know all the carcinogens that they've been spraying. It's in the food system now.
Yeah.
The GMOs, it's here.
And it will be concentrated in the animal product because the animals eat the foods and then it gets concentrated in their flesh. So the higher up you eat on the food chain, the more you are going to get this.
I just want to say this, and this is commentary and opinion. This is a crime that whoever allowed this to be sold to the American consumer. Folks, this is so dangerous. The carcinogens alone, what it does, and when you're spraying out this, unless it's very early in the morning, it is moving down, and if you're downwind from this, you are literally contaminating yourself. So it should not be sold in any way to the American consumer, or any consumer.
Let me add one thing to what you're saying. You're absolutely 100% correct. And for all of you folks out there that cherish your pets like a family member, do not use that product in your yard anywhere where you have your pets. Because just a few days ago, a good friend of mine, her dog suddenly got sick. The dog's 5 years old. He's never had any problems. Had a couple of nice days. Her husband was out using herbicides like this Roundup, and he was spraying along the cracks in the sidewalk, along their house, their back patio, which is made of the big square pavers. And he sprayed all of that. And we all know that dogs and cats, they'll chew on some, grass. What is it for the chlorophyll or whatever?
Yep. Digestion too.
Exactly. And the next thing you know, the dog was out there playing around in the yard for about an hour, blah, blah, blah. The dog came back in a few hours later. The dog was completely incapacitated. They rushed it to a veterinarian hospital. The dog died a few hours later, and then days later, they got the little what do they call the not the autopsy?
Yeah,
crawtopsy or whatever they call it.
Isn't it a pathology report?
Yeah, and The cause of death was respiratory failure due to herbicide ingestion.
You know, Homo sapiens, man that's wise. Let me tell you, when I read this really just pissed me off because I eat a lot of oat. I don't like the wheat so much because of the way the things that are in it, but they're spraying it directly on the plants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, if you
I
eat
don't know.
organic, it shouldn't, but it should at least have less.
200 million pounds of this stuff.
Yeah.
So here's another piece of good advice. You know, I mean, for all of you people out there that like to invest in the stock market, pick one of these pesticide or herbicide companies and throw your money in there, and you'll definitely make some cash, and the stock never goes down.
Yeah, Monsanto is one of the most evil organizations on this planet. They trying to make all food that we eat genetically modified so they can patent the food. I mean, farmers in India are committing suicide because of them, because they sell them on the idea, and then the crop goes wrong, and whatever grows, you can never take the seed of whatever the farmers have grown, take that seed and replant it. You always have to buy new seed.
Precisely.
So this is a disaster for these farmers. And thousands of farmers are committing suicide in places like India because of them.
Well, here in the United States, if you are in a farm in Nebraska, Kansas, anywhere, you have to buy Monsanto seed, and it is GMO.
Yeah, it's all GMO. They genetically modify all seeds that they plant, and they genetically modified to take their weed sprays and which is the Roundup, because they produce the Roundup and they produce the seeds that are supposed to go with the Roundup. So they make money out of both.
It's the perfect Ponzi scheme. I mean, you got them coming and you got them going.
Exactly.
You know? I mean,
here's something that a lot of us may probably forget. But if you've been in the truth community for, a couple of years, then you've probably heard of, Bob Fletcher and John Moore.
Mm-hmm.
In John Moore's early seminars, okay, we're talking, 5, 6, 7 years ago?
I know back in 2012, 13, he was really on that.
Yeah. But in his, I had caught some early videos of him, and he calls all of this step by step. Everything that we're experiencing right now, from the civil unrest to the plots in government to the threat on the food chain and your water supply and the threat in the air. He calls all of it step by step. And I keep telling people that this timeline, I mean, there's no actual dates. Oh, this is going to happen in December. This is going to happen in January. But it's the way that they laid it out. And the way John describes it 5 years ago, people, it's what you're living right now.
I believe it.
And it's terrifying for people that really don't know what's happening, and you start to fill them in. So much has happened over the past 5 years. It takes forever to try to jam and cram all that into someone's brain all at once. So they get lost. Without people like you and me and Dr. Albers and a lot of others, wow, the whole world would be completely lost. But at least there are some people out there that are paying attention, that are doing their homework, and the more, the merrier.
I don't know what's happening in your part of the world, but here in Denver, I'm just going to give you the last 7 days of what's happened here. People, I'm telling you, folks, something's going on. We have individuals, males, 23, still a tractor trailer truck with a trailer on the back, purposely ramming into houses, cars, and trying to kill people. We had someone on Friday deliberately set fire to a barn, killed 5 horses. And the reason why they couldn't get to the horses fast enough, because this person was setting fires all over Lakewood.
Oh,
what
my
we're
goodness.
experiencing here in Denver is almost what I would call a psychotic episode happening amongst the populace. It is happening every day now.
Yeah,
And
you
it's
see,
pretty
what
bizarre.
they are doing with the chemtrails is they're putting specific elements in the chemtrails that will go inside the body and target the brain. And then they are using electromagnetic waves to flick a switch. And people who are susceptible, because certain people are more susceptible to that than others, they will just feel these urges to do things.
You know what he said? I didn't remember.
Mind control.
Yeah, that's what the person said. I didn't remember why I did it.
Remember the last time that I think it was the last time I was on with you guys, or maybe even the first time, and I mentioned to you the small little cell phone towers, the ones that are barely 60, 70 feet high, maybe 80 feet high. They have these rectangular boxes in a triangular pattern on the tops of them. And they're placing them in neighborhoods and residential areas and all over the place. But the thing is they have massive amounts of electricity being pumped into these small towers. Now, listen, they are everywhere in the United States. They are everywhere in Europe. Okay? People think that they are little cell phone towers. They are not. They have the ability to pump out massive amounts of radio waves. And remember, I said, do a little research and find out what massive amounts of radio waves do to the human brain. Look at the symptoms, and you will see why you have crazy people out there doing crazy things on a mass range. I'm telling you, they're testing this stuff because they can regulate the radio waves to, let's say, number 10 and make people do what you were just talking about, Wayne. Then they could decrease it a little bit, and all of a sudden they're dealing with somebody who is just completely somber, almost like a vegetable. So they have the ability to regulate the output to get the effect that they want. And they have a range. That's why they're in all of the neighborhoods. That's why they're everywhere. And that's why they're low to the ground.
I understand it's less than 200 feet, the dampening field, and that's what I was told it is. It creates a electromagnetic dampening field that suppresses, as you were saying, the serotonin levels that are produced in the brain.
Very high depression rate.
Yes, and it's more susceptible to younger brains than us older cats.
Very correct. Spot on, my man. You've done your research. Right on. That is right on.
And I swear it's I'll save that for another one. But yeah. So us older dudes and chicks, we're a little bit insulated from it, Scott, apparently.
Well, I'll tell you what, here's the deal. Whenever I may be cursing myself right now, but whenever they turn that SOB up, it fires my brain up and I do my best work. Ask Claudia. I tell her all the time, I'm like, my brain is on fire. My thinking process is absolutely outrageous. So
I call that the boomerang effect, Scott.
Yeah, they better just stick to the snowflakes and the millennials, because that shit ain't working on me.
Dr. Albers will actually be coming out with a complete new model for what we're talking about, because this is what I think they're trying to do.
Yeah, they're trying to do a whole lot of things, but I think the primary reason, I thought about what they are doing. and from even the wars they are waging, because since 1991 they've been using weapons that have depleted uranium in them. So when they're fighting a war anywhere, say Afghanistan or Iraq, they're using these weapons, and what they're leaving behind is the refuse from having fired these weapons, which is actually depleted. And in certain cases, not even depleted uranium. So whenever you ingest uranium particles, you're getting alpha radiation inside your own body. And with time, it gets worse, because as uranium decays, it decays into other nuclei that are even more radioactive. So what happens? People have come from the Gulf War and have all these kinds of diseases that seems to progress, and they become more and more incapacitated. And that is all due to to having ingested uranium-238 particles.
Do we get any reports out of Iraq on what the cancer rates are? I have never even heard.
Yeah, the thing is, they have left in Iraq and Afghanistan enough radiation to give every single person, I believe Iraq has 25 million people,
yes,
to give every single person cancer within a few years.
Now, hold on real quick before we lose thought with what Claudia was just saying, okay, about this depleted uranium all over the Middle East.
Wow.
Okay, if you just go and do the research, people, take a look at all of the animal deformations that are so hideous that I refuse to do videos on them and put them up on my YouTube channel, because they'll take them down.
Yeah,
you can't show it on Facebook, okay? No. Because we're talking very mutated animals. We're talking cows, pigs, goats, fish. I'm talking, these things look like they're from outer space, and they're living.
Well, I have a friend that, and I'm not going to say which private security firm he was associated with, but he was outside Mosul, and he swears, he said he saw literally a fleet of triangular shaped ships. And he said what they were emitting was, he said, it looked like to him blue lightning that was coming down. I now realized what he was probably seeing was some kind of plasma weapon.
Yep.
But he said it had the strangest sound to it. He said it was like almost tinfoil, and then he said it would start ratcheting up, and you could just hear it like, and yeah. That's he said
that's very high electric fields at the edges of the craft, because what they are using is electrogravitic propulsion system.
Wow.
It's anti-gravity.
That would be what he was. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They've had that technology for years. The Nazis.
Apparently, they're testing it over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the people.
They've had it for a long time, for many years, 20, 30 years. They've had that type, triangular shaped.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. He swore.
That use that technology. Yeah.
He said it was the most bizarre thing. He said literally they appeared out of nowhere. And
yeah, you see, they have weapons in space, plasma weapons that put any nuclear weapon to shame. But they will wage war with the nuclear weapons, because what are they wanting to do? You can see what they want to do. They want to destroy the populations of these countries. They are not waging war between nations. They are waging war against the population of this planet. They are trying to destroy the Earth's population. You can see it.
And so, what a great way.
What was the problem he was trying to solve? Too many people. we cannot control them all. We have to get rid of the Earth's population. That's what chemtrails all about. This is what depleted uranium is all about. This is what Fukushima is all about. This is what all the radiation they want to use and will use in future, because they will use nuclear weapons, because nuclear weapons are long-lasting ways to kill people and give them cancer. And as they get the cancer, they have to go to treatment, and then they will use the drugs that actually give you cancer, and they will make money out of selling these pharmaceuticals.
Just keep making money. But, you know, on another note, when we start talking about what's happening in the Middle East, and again, I'm going to touch back to what John Moore said, you're going to start to see this civil unrest. Well, what's a great way to cause civil unrest? You get all of these people out of the Middle East, no matter who they are. I don't care if they're terrorists, degenerates, or just common people. You start dumping hundreds of thousands of these people throughout the European countries and the United States and Canada. Okay, now pay close attention. You're not seeing these so-called refugees or migrants being sent to South America, do you? You don't see them being sent to Mexico, do you? Because South America and Mexico and Africa are not part of the plan. You don't see them being sent to Japan, do you? No, you do not. You see them being sent to the big boys, the European countries. Australia's included in this also. Canada and the United States. You throw in the religion factor and just natural born racism and hatred, there is your civil unrest. Create it. That gives the governments the right to create a police state. And then they'll create, you know, the false flags, more civil unrest, your rights being stripped away. People, it's all playing out.
Well, two things. Number one, stranger in the strange land. As you remember, South America was the refuge country that the elites moved to because everything else in the northern hemisphere is gone. Two, so here in Colorado, they have a bill that's now going before our legislator in which to be able to go to a judge, and if they have a claim that you are mentally unstable, they can break your door down and come in and confiscate your guns. And by this, so this is all under the guise that it's going to help protect people. And this is the slippery slope that we see going on.
Right there, baby.
There you go. And, you know, if they would make it about mental health, that would be one thing, but they're not. They're turning this into a gun confiscation. Now, may I bring this up, folks? For all of you living up in the Wisconsin area, as it's well out now, you guys this week are going to be participating in Operation Dark Skies. So if any of you living in the Wisconsin area are part of this exercise, please write to me and let me know. Here's what's very interesting. This is phase 2. Phase 1 was burnt skies 3 days prior, right before the eclipse of the sun. This is dark skies phase 2. This is a long-term, no electricity event happening from something of the atmosphere. I've heard that there is phase 3, and then this is the exercise where they actually begin to, in communities, declare martial law simulated. There you go.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I just wanted to throw this out there real quick. Over the last 2 months, over the last 3 months, we've gone through this little bit of a lull, and we've seen some earthquake activity, some volcanic activity. Nothing dramatic happening on the sun. But as the pattern goes, and I was looking back through all of my work a couple of days ago and going back into 2017 and 2016. Wait for July. I've already said this a month ago. We'll have, as we say, no pun intended, clear skies from now till, around the middle of July. And then from July through the rest of 2018 is going to be a firestorm worldwide.
Well, I have to say things are getting weird, and I agree with you. I'd like to go back on the population. I was doing a study today. Holy crap. Do you know that anthropologists estimate the total amount of Homo sapiens, and we're going back 70,000 years according to their records, never exceeded 20 million. We are at an unprecedented event in the annals of our species. The question that they ponder, and I think the elites have been thinking about this, how much can the Earth sustain?
Yeah, the thing is, this is one of the things that they keep saying. But the truth is, Wayne, that the Earth can support a huge population if they share and use the technology to support life and human beings. But they on purpose create wars, they create desert, they create drought through their weapons. They on purpose are making people sick and poor and making countries crime-ridden through what they are doing. They started out at the beginning of the 20th century by removing nutrition from food through farming practices. That was one of the first steps. When you remove nutrition from food, you make people irritable and crime starts. In societies where the food has all the nutrition, there's no crime, there's no cancer. People respect each other. Everybody helps each other. We've seen that. There's some old cultures still, or there were until a few years ago. In
the Amazonian tribes. The Amazon tribes.
Exactly. There was no crime. Crime is a nutritional problem to start off with. And it's because they squeeze people and take what they need away from them. One of them is nutrition. The other is moral values. When you don't teach children moral values, they don't learn to respect their elders or themselves or their friends or their brothers and sisters. And they actually are creating this within society. They are trying to destroy society over and over again, removing the resources that people need. So the Earth's the Earth can support a huge population, probably 10 billion or more. I mean, Israel has shown how you can make the desert bloom. If you take areas that are desert and you use technology for good, you can turn them into productive grounds to grow food for people. But they do the opposite. They increase the deserts. And
that's what they're doing.
They're destroying people on purpose. It is an evil plan.
Well, now it's snowing in the desert, so what the hell?
Yeah. Well, I often say this. All you have to do is go across Wyoming. You could put 1 billion people there, and I don't think that they'd be able to meet each other.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah, another hour. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Scott.
I mean, we could, we have the ability to mass produce food in greenhouses.
Yes.
You know, I hear the farmers, don't get me wrong if you're a farmer, but we've heard them bitch and complain for years They get the the federal subsidies.
Yep.
Use the money, upgrade your equipment, upgrade and growing technology, and then here comes we need ethanol. All the farmers grow corn, and the gas companies, they buy all the corn and blah blah blah. Now the farmers don't want to grow anything else but the damn corn.
And I go back a little ways. I'm old fashioned in some ways. You don't, this is a crazy thing. You don't throw away your seed. There are so many ways that we can use anti-magnetic devices, magnetism to propel our vehicles. Mm-hmm. I'm a great F1 fan. I love F1 racing.
Me too.
And okay, so you and I have a great passion here. And what I love is that what I saw, for instance, McCarran, what was it, 7 years ago, when they developed the transfer technology from the brake system to feed back into the engine and then create this constant ability for the RPMs that the F1 engines go at. We could do the same thing here. So anyway.
Yeah, there's such simple things that you can do. For example, if you just increase the thickness of airplane wings, you actually decrease the amount of fuel that each airplane uses. But they don't want that because they're making too much money out of selling oil at huge prices because they pretend that it is there's a limited supply, which there isn't. They are huge amounts of oil in the ground. You will never run out of it.
Never will. And the Airbus 380 uses that technology, Claudia, in order for it to be able to lift off on the short runways they hear.
Yeah.
Speaking of the F1, that's kind of off topic, but what do you think of that new halo design? Are you up on that new halo design, the front windshield design on these cars?
Not yet. No.
Oh my dear God. You got to look it up. Just Google it.
I am. Now you're going to get me out to, when I found out that
see these things,
I got to look at that. What most people, as you know, the steering wheels can cost up to $250,000.
Yeah. They're like little computers.
You're thinking, well, there's my house. Listen, I just enjoy you two so much. It's the hour's come and gone, and I just want to thank you, Scott. You're welcome here all the time. If want to come on with Claudia at any time, that's fine. But
yeah, no problem. I mean, I've been over the past couple of months, I've been super busy.
Well, you're all writing a book, right? You're writing a book.
Yeah, it's almost finished. I just designed the cover the other day, and I posted it on our Facebook page. And it's pretty cool. What did I named it? Chemtrails, the Silent Killer.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
And
but we have to put everything that goes into chemtrails because it's, like I said, it's a multi-level conspiracy, and there's lots that feeds into it, including the sun simulators. Why do they need sun simulators? Why do they need chemtrails? And so it a lot will go into the book besides just talking about chemtrails, but definitely that's the primary, the starting off point.
Yeah, and believe me, you're going to have a lot to talk about. Everybody's going to have a lot to talk about in the upcoming months. I'm telling you, I'm warning you now. You will have a ton of things to talk about when it comes to weather-related events in the Northern Hemisphere. And then you're going to start seeing them in the Southern Hemisphere. So, folks, everybody down in Australia, New Zealand, the southern tip of Africa and South America, you're going to be in for one hell of a ride. I'm telling you right now. And I study the weather every single day. Once again, still, there are major issues brewing in the Arctic and the Antarctic. Not too many people are paying close attention to it, but these two situations are going to affect weather patterns worldwide. And you think last year was bad with the hurricane season, just wait till this year. And I think this year is going to be very extended. all the way into November.
Well, ay.
Yes.
Well, we'll have our shows here Monday, and so we'll keep everyone right. By the way, Mercury 7, which team does your uncle change tires on? I'm just curious. We got NASCAR. I listen. I worked for NASCAR for a number of years for a number of the teams raising corporate sponsorships. So I love NASCAR. Anyway.
Yeah. NASCAR's cool. I spent 4 years on the NASCAR circuit with my dad's company doing Budweiser advertising. Yeah, 4 straight years, man, on the road, every single race. I had a massive NASCAR collection. I got to meet all of the drivers. This is back in Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon's heyday, Rusty Wallace. I've had beers with all of them. And, that was a great 4 years.
Back in the days.
Yeah. It's all changed now. All these drivers are younger. I don't even know who the hell they are.
They are young. All right, folks. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to all the moderators. Thank you for just a great chat room. I've been looking at it. Y'all are just very cool people. Y'all really are. You got great conversations. Scott, you're a brother. I appreciate you coming on. I always enjoy it. And Claudia, I enjoy each time that we're on. I look forward to Monday nights. Monday nights are very special. So this is what you do.
She's going to have a lot more to talk about in the upcoming months. I dumped a plate full onto her plate, and she's going right at it. And like I said, when the Chemtrail book comes out, not just pumping the book to buy it, but it's a tangible product. It's in your hands.
Good.
When they wipe out the internet and they wipe out Facebook and they wipe out Twitter and Yahoo, or what's it called, YouTube, that's it, man. There's not going to be any information. So we're going to lay it out in this book. We're going to lay it out to the best of our ability, but there will be new information that will come up as people keep poking around. And let's just hope none of us come up missing.
God forbid.
Yeah. But look for it. Look for the book to come out. Dr. Albers will definitely let you know.
Good. And by the way, wanted to let you know, Claudia, last week, people really enjoyed the teaching format. They felt that they were actually in the classroom. So, so I just wanted to let you know we're getting.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
so I really enjoy answering questions like that pertaining to my work. It gives me an opportunity to explain more details that people are specifically interested in. So,
I do have a question for you. This is from Carrie Reinhardt. Wouldn't the black star that you and Terrell have talked about obscure the background stars of the galaxy? And wouldn't the stellar cores caught in the Earth's atmosphere do the same? She says, if this is true, is it possible for us to observe this?
Let me just throw something in there real quick. I know exactly what they're getting at. And Claudia, you probably agree with me real quick. And I've had this question asked to me before, but because everything is in constant motion, we don't have those massive space satellites like the boys in blue have. So I am sure and I am positive that they are seeing what this person is describing. Us here on Earth, we're not going to see that. They will not let us see that. But that is a valid question. It's a very smart, intelligent question. And what do you think, Claudia? I mean, we're not going to see it from Earth.
The thing is, this is one of the primary reasons why they have the Chemtrail program and the sun simulators.
Exactly.
It's so that we do not see what is going on. Because as I have said before, if this star comes into the solar system, it will act, even though it's not emitting light, it will act a lot like a comet. It will draw material to itself. It still has a negative outer layer, and that means that it will behave like a comet. It will draw material from the sun's outer rings of positive ions, it will draw a current from the sun's outer layer of electrons from the corona. So it would look like a comet. It would have a tail and it would have a coma. And we would see it, but they will not allow us to see any of this because of all these things they're doing. One of the things they're doing is through the rockets, they're actually putting gases in the atmosphere so high up in the atmosphere that it's producing these noctilucent clouds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
the rainbow
they're
clouds.
using rockets to do that. And they're colorful because the objects that have come into the solar system, as they draw material, they start behaving like comets. They will have tails. And one of the pictures I show in one of my last articles was of this object. It looks like it has a blue coma and a pink tail. That's not created by a rocket. That's actually an object drawing material and looks like a comet. And this is what they are trying to hide. So the black star in the solar system, I don't think it will be black for long. We would be able to see it if they would allow us to see it, but they're probably seeing it. They don't allow us to see it.
You know, that was a great question. And, you know, the individual, what was their name?
Carrie.
You know, we need more brains like that, you know, doing the research, asking the questions, putting out the hypothesis or the theory, because that's all that we have. You know, we don't have the laboratories that the JPL and NASA and the ESA have. All we have are each other. You bounce ideas off of each other and bingo, you know, that light bulb turns on. But that was a great question.
She has one last one in here. It says, my static electricity continues to strengthen and happens year round when I'm outside and touch metal, cars, fencing. Any idea what is causing this? Could it be the stellar cores?
I've been getting
No. It's not the stellar cores.
Okay.
In this case, it's actually the chemtrails that they are using. They're using metallic particles that make our atmosphere conductive. And this is why static electricity keeps on increasing in the atmosphere. They make it conductive so that they can use their weapons against
ferrous material. Wow.
So they can make the lenses so that they can use their mind control on us. It's all that's what they're doing. They're making our atmosphere conductive because all these nanoparticle sized metals in it.
Listen, speaking of this conductivity and listen, again, you know, just take it as a warning. Wait till you see the strength of the storms that will push across the United States this summer and this fall. They are going to be some of the biggest, most electrifying storms that you've seen. In Canada, same thing. The eastern part of Canada, just watch the hell out.
Well, I'm going to just say this, and I know we really gone over, but I have been very concerned ever since I started reading what's been happening in India. And in Bangladesh, they have reported now for months these electrical storms. And these storms are, if they happen here in the United States, it's going to cause, it caused over there widespread panic, death, but 40 to 60,000 lightning strikes in an hour.
And remember last year, remember how many people were killed in India alone with lightning strikes? 13 in one day.
Yeah. It's, if that happens here.
Oh, it's, trust me. Like I said, I've been studying the weather and these patterns and what is happening. And with what Claudia is saying and with what is in the air and the heating up of our atmosphere to go along with summer, you are going to see a mixed cocktail that is going to be a hot one, and you are going to see a lot of catastrophes. It's going to be it's going to be a 2018 year of weather in the United States and Canada to remember. And Mexico and Central America's not out of this either. They're going to get hit with their dose, but what I'm more worried about is what's going to happen in the Midwest part of the United States, and that's going to push through to the East Coast. And a lot of this is going to push upward into the Ohio valleys and straight into heavily populated areas. I'm telling you, mark my words.
Well, I can tell you. Go ahead.
The stellar cores, sorry.
No, go ahead. No.
The stellar cores and any comet coming by Earth will cause an electric interaction between that object and the Earth that would ionize our ionosphere and cause these electrical effects. But they probably deduced long ago that these objects would do this. So what did they decide to do? They decided to find an artificial way of actually causing that themselves. And then on top of that, they decided to use these things as weapons against the Earth's population. These people are insane. They want to destroy the human race. And I think the only way this is possible is because whoever's behind it is actually an alien race. Human beings will not do this to themselves.
They're shapeshifters.
The ones at the top are being deceived by an alien race.
The reptilians.
Yes.
We will talk more about this next week because I happen to be 100% agreeing. I have done well. We'll talk about this next week.
Yeah, there's some new material that just came out, and if I have the time to jump on with you guys,
please do, Scott. Let's talk about this next week.
I'll share this information with you, and I just caught wind of it a few days ago. I've been looking into it, and for the first time in years, I actually had a nightmare, and it was because this was deep in my thought. It's really weird, but anyways, I appreciate you having us on, Wayne.
Oh, listen, it's always a privilege and an honor. And I'm telling you what I'm working on. I'm talking to some promoters right now about putting on a worldwide Sapien Summit. And the point will be, we're going to discuss issues just like you said, Dr. Albers. We're going to get into, I think it's needed. And I think it has to be apart from the metaphysical and everything else. This is exactly what it is. It's Sapien Summit, and where we can bring out these issues because something ain't working.
I think it's a phenomenal idea. I mean, if we can participate, I would love to. It would be an honor, and
love to get y'all into it. On the other side of my office is another whiteboard, and it looks like a great recipe, but it's getting formed. So yes.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for stopping in. Listen, you guys have a choice to wherever you go, and it's a fantastic opportunity for having you in here because, well, y'all make it possible. Dr. Albers, Scott Zione, go subscribe to their channels, Planet X News and Planet X Physicist. In fact, if you're not over in Claudia's channel, I'm really surprised because she gets into much more on her papers, and that to me is a free education. So
Thank you, Wayne.
Claudia, you're the best. Scott, brother, salute you, my friend.
Take care, everybody.
Y'all be good.
All right, Wayne. Take care.
Bye-bye.